Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Lies and Logic. My name is Matt Garrett. I wanted to spend some time talking about our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Most of Canada seems to have woken up to the reality of the state of our country. Much like the crowd at the last Canadian UFC event, the crowd at a recent Rolling Stones event roared with boos after Mick Jagger tried to appeal to the crowd by mentioning his friendship with Trudeau. Have a listen.
Anyway, we love your Mr. Trudeau. His family's always been such big fans of our band. By the way, congratulations on the...
Music to my ears. But some of Canada still seems to be in the dark about the sinister plot Trudeau set in motion from day one of his term as Prime Minister. Trudeau has knowingly and purposely trapped Canadians in a housing crisis. Let me explain. Now, China has always had a volatile economy. When you have a population of over 1 billion people, the wealth gap is immense. Now, it's no secret to some of you that Trudeau has quite an affinity for China's dictatorship. Have a listen.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China. Because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start, investing in solar. There is a flexibility that I know.
Now, about 10 years ago, the real estate market in many of Canada's major cities began to explode with foreign buyers from China, as their wealthy population caught wind of our housing market and the rapid rise in housing prices. They began investing heavily into Canadian real estate. Sellers started to feel like they were winning the lottery when they were receiving cash offers for their properties hundreds of thousands over asking. Everyone began jumping on the bandwagon and cashing in. Most would take their profit and move out of the city and into less expensive areas. This, of course, drove housing prices through the roof as people began to capitalize on this opportunity to feel like lotto winners. I honestly can't think of many people that didn't sell their homes during this period. Seemed all well and good at the time, so much so everyone and their dog began wanting to become a realtor and cash in on what felt like the California gold rush. No one seemed to understand that borrowing money in Canada was different than other parts of the world. See, we have to remortgage every 5 years, whereas in Europe and the US, the standard was closer to 30 years, meaning the rising interest rates are a non-event for most. Now, some were voicing their concern very early on, much like this article from Maclean's back in 2016, where people were saying this will create a potential housing bubble. But too many Canadians were being blinded by massive profits on their properties to care enough to worry about the future, as the interest rates had been at historic lows for so long. We hadn't seen any real adversity in our economy for what felt like decades. People had grown very comfortable thinking it would last forever. Now, it still shocks me when I meet people who are unaware of the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset, which is also known as the 2030 Agenda, where they openly say you will own nothing and be happy. They want a world where people rent their homes for life. Trudeau is a serious advocate for this organization. Have a listen.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
Now, many Canadians were coasting through life without a financial care in the world, as so many were sitting on massive savings after the sale of their properties. Then came 2020. The virus from a Chinese lab funded by the world's tax dollars. Now, some will still say that the virus was accidentally leaked, but I consider those people naive. Myself and others were doing our best to shout from the mountaintops, warning people of a plot to turn the bulk of us into renters. We were treated like Chicken Little and labeled conspiracy theorists. Lots like myself were shunned by society. We watched our businesses crumble as people worked their best to cancel us and spread hateful rhetoric. Trudeau implemented some of the world's strictest rules during this scamdemic, preying on how weak Canada had become, especially our men, who had become virtue-signaling beta males like himself. Trudeau began borrowing an unprecedented amount of money from the Bank of Canada. Now, let me inform you, the Bank of Canada is not a government-funded bank. That's not where they keep our tax dollars, as most seem to believe. The Bank of Canada is funded by the world's wealthiest investors who invest with one purpose: profit. Those that understood this continued to warn of rising interest rates if we continue to borrow at the rate we were. again we were treated like Chicken Little. Well, we all know what happened next. Our interest rates spiked. So now you have the bulk of the country in new loans with little to no equity. Most bought homes they could never have afforded on their salaries, but low interest rates and massive profits from previous sales made it appear feasible. Now here we are in 2020, with roughly 60% of the Canadian population about to renew their mortgages in the next 18 months at rates that are going to cripple them. Meanwhile, Trudeau is creating rental housing developments all across Canada. Are you seeing what I'm seeing yet? Trudeau increased taxes on the sale on investment properties recently with the new capital gains tax. And mark my words, now that he's aware he can't win the next election, he is going to increase taxes on the sale of your primary residence. Especially with the boomer class entering retirement and looking to downsize. He's going to put his foot on the gas and do whatever he can to line his pockets and the pockets of those who have kept him in power. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button on your way out, as I would really appreciate your support. My name's Matt Garrett, and this is Lies and Logic. See you next time.